Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining in. I would like to invite Mr. Jitin Talwar, founder TT Consultants, Excel Scout, and Talwar Advocates, for introductory remarks on GLIPA initiative. Handing over to you, Jitin.
Thank you. I'll just share my screen. So first of all, a very warm welcome to everybody. Um, I guess initial my first of all, I like to welcome everybody. Global IP Alliance, this globe event jointly being organized by Global IP Alliance, GLIPA IPA, and NDRF. Um, so as you know, we all know about the topic, the subject, and I think Mr. Subodh will talk more about it as we move forward. But first, a little bit about Global IP Alliance and the India chapter of Global IP Alliance. Global IP Alliance was initially envisioned in the US with a mission of a world in which IP empowers all people to improve lives and create a more prosperous and sustainable future. And then a mission of fostering IP awareness, education, collaboration, inclusivity to enrich the lives of people worldwide. Now, a lot of people talk about IP from the area of restrictive technologies or restrictive nature, whereas intellectual property is actually empowering for bringing in societal change, which is what and we are going to be talking about as we move forward. In terms of the Global IP Alliance, our vision and mission is to rotate around these three pillars: IP awareness and education, IP ecosystem collaboration, IP diversity and inclusion. And these pillars empower an intellectual property world to advance the society. And it is based upon people, relationship, and trust. As you know, an orderly society is a society which grows and makes people grow. Through GLIPA, we are also empowering intellectual property to advance society. And this webinar and the outreach that we are doing is part of that. It empowers ecosystem collaboration, awareness education, diversity and inclusion. These are the three movers and shakers of the Global IP Alliance. You can get involved with the India chapter, which we call as IPA, GLIPA IPA. You can get involved and help in promoting the vision and mission of GLIPA and vision and mission of bringing intellectual property to the grassroots, where people can leverage technology sustainably to bring in societal change and take it forward. It's a global IP alliance. It is supported by WIPO. There are ecosystem partners in Europe and UK, North America, Latin America, Africa, Australia, New Zealand, and of course in India. Now, in as far as the topic of today is concerned, no less than when it comes to leveraging AI and IP strategies for effective disaster management, especially in the Northeast, it is very important to lay down the groundwork from the view and point of view of the Sustainable Development Goals. As we all know, the United Nations has laid down 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Innovation is essential in at least two Sustainable Development Goal 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 11, and 13. And the more we bring in sustainability, the more we bring in sustainable development, the less, as we know, disasters will be there. So if you look at Sustainable Development Goal 11, it talks about sustainable cities and communities. If you talk about Sustainable Development Goal 9, it talks about industry, innovation, and infrastructure, which is done sustainably. So when it comes to fighting off leveraging AI and fighting off disasters, These aspects are very important. Today, I'm setting the agenda, and as we further talk about from Mr. Kandhari and Mr. Subodh and the others, we'll talk about AI and sustainability, how we are shaping the future. The future is AI, the future is sustainability. How you can use off the shelf technologies which are free to use, open source, and create a paradigm of AI and innovation, create a paradigm of creativity and IP, and move this forward, move the ball forward. I'll challenge you with some of the possibilities that the world of innovation is looking at. Predictive analytics for early warning systems will get better and better with AI. Much better, predict natural disasters earlier, predict pandemics earlier, predict epidemics earlier. AI powered systems that can analyze real time weather patterns, historical data. We're already doing that. Real time data processing, leverage AI for real time satellite imagery, drone surveillance, automation of real relief illusion. These are just some of the things that we'll be talking about today. As I hand over the this session to others, the other panelists, and we move forward. So, Mr. Subodh Kumar, please go ahead and let's move ahead with our agenda today.
Thanks, Jatin, for setting the context. And good evening, good morning, and good afternoon to all of you who have joined today. It gives me immense pleasure to initiate today's dialogue, a very important dialogue on artificial intelligence development and IP protection. It's such an important combination and interlink we all have to understand. And specifically, the dialogue is today focusing on climate and disaster management technology. Now, let me give few important context here as to what was the thought process and why we have a dialogue on this subject today here and bringing all of you to this very important discussion. The first and foremost, as Jitin has mentioned, it's a collaborative effort of GLIPA, Global Intellectual Property Alliance, and its India chapter, India IP Alliance. And it has been collaborated with the support of BioNest and Northeastern Hill University, the two active collaborators from the Northeastern regions. And the objective is to provide a platform. I think this is the first step towards that, for a knowledge exchange. And what is this knowledge exchange going to be about? It is on the transformative potential. I think Jatin had given the flavor of this transformative potential and transformative potential of artificial intelligence and Northeast region in specific, because it has such a rich cultural, geographical, and economic strength. But there are some very important challenges which this region is confronted with, and that is one is the vulnerability to natural disaster. So we thought, why not we use this transformative capability of AI and bring all these eminent panelists together and focus a discussion on how AI development and its inherent intellectual property can impact critical areas like climate and disaster management technologies. That is the context. And we are very happy to have with us today Mr. HPS Kandari, who is the commandant of the 1st Battalion, National Disaster Response Force, NDRF, as we all know, based out of Guwahati and Assam. And his responsibilities include providing rescue and relief efforts during all types of natural as well as man-made disaster, primarily in the Northeast regions and other parts of the country, of course, in general. And for his recognition and in recognition for his valuable services, Mr. Kandari has also been awarded the Police Medal for the meritorious services in 2023. Welcome, Mr. Kandari, to this session, and it's a pleasure to have you here, sir. And the other eminent speakers we have, I would like to introduce Dr. Nalanda Balamurgan, who is an educator and a practitioner in intellectual property rights. She is the co-founder and the managing director of NAM IP Boardroom, the international flagship project of collaborative network for intellectual property advocates. She is a registered patent agent and serves as a principal intellectual property counsel at the BioNest, who is one of the collaborators for this event. BioNest Bio Incubator Facility, the Northeastern Hill University, Meghalaya, India, where she educates the academic community on intellectual property rights and oversees agreements, filings, prosecution, licensing, and negotiation. Welcome, Dr. Nalanda Balamurugan, to this session. It's a pleasure to have you with us. And then we have Dr. Abhijit, who is currently serving as a principal research scientist at the Center of Excellence on Intellectual Property Rights. That's at the Indian Institute of Technology, Jodhpur. And his responsibilities primarily include providing intellectual property protection, maintenance, and enforcement services, as well as offering consulting, research, and technology support to the stakeholders of IIT Jodhpur. This is the composition of the panel today. So we first begin with Mr. HPS Kandari, and Mr. Kandari, invite you to talk on the topic of artificial intelligence and enabling tool towards disaster resilience. Over to you, Mr. Kandari. Mr. Kandari?
Hello, good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, very much.
Yeah, sure. I'll try to share my that presentation. I think my presentation is visible.
Yes, it is visible. It has come up.
So may I begin? May I start?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening to my fellow panelists and the august audience. My today's topic of presentation is artificial intelligence and an enabling tool towards achieving disaster resilience. Disaster management has in last 20 years has undergone a paradigm shift. Earlier, disaster response meant only providing relief and rescue operations, but now it encompasses a complete disaster scenario, right from the prevention, mitigation, preparedness, then response, recovery, and up to rehabilitation. And in 2005, Government of India enacted Disaster Management Act, and which has created authorities at the national level, at state level, and at the district level for response of disaster management. So this is the total chart that shows that how these agencies are there. NDMA is at the apex, which is the apex body for policy making. Then there is National Institute for Disaster Management, which is meant for training of the subject of disaster response, and then National Disaster Response Force, which is primarily responsible for response operations during the disasters. Then there are several committees of MHA and cabinet and different type of ministries at the national level. At the state level, there is every state has its own state disaster management authority, and then there are their own state disaster response forces, and then there are different ministries and different departments, and at the district level there are district disaster management authorities, and with this to support them there are different line departments, and with them there are a lot of local bodies and the community. So with this now I will speak a little about the National Disaster Response Force because I belong to this. This is a force which was created in 2006 after Disaster Management Act came to force. And initially it was raised with 8 battalions, and now there are total 60 battalions of NDRF, which are located at several places strategically for prompt rescue operations at case of disaster anywhere in India. So the personnel of the National Disaster Response Force, they are drawn from various central armed police forces, and this is a total deputation force. People come here on deputation for 7 years, and after completion of their deputation, they go back to their respective department to paramilitary forces. And we are first battalion of NDRF, and we are located at Guwahati, and we are looking after 4 states primarily, which include most of the Assam and then complete states of Meghalaya, Mizoram, and Tripura. So, as per vulnerability, the northeastern state they are vulnerable for various type of disasters, which include flood. As we all know that there are a lot of rivers. Brahmaputra is major among them, so there are floods every year. Then this whole area comes in earthquake zone 5, seismic zone 5, which is the highest type of zonation for severity of earthquakes. And then due to the hilly area and loose soil, there are landslides, then CBR, chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear situations because of presence of some chemical industries and train accidents owing to the hilly terrain and the loose soil. Then chemical leaks are there because there are some chemical plants and chemicals get transported from one place to other. Cyclones are there, though we don't have coasts and but the southern parts of Tripura and Mizoram, they are very near to the coast, and at the time of cyclone, they are affected by the severe cyclonic winds and rains. Then building collapse because the areas are hilly and the hilly cities, particularly like Shillong, Aizawl, and Kohima, they are vulnerable to the building collapses. And then forest fire, there is a lot of forest fire covers, hence the forest fire is a regular occurring phenomenon. Then only because of the fact that Zoom cultivation is also done in this area. So, as regard types of disaster, primarily we can divide the disaster in two parts. One is natural, there are man-made disaster. Natural include meteorological, flood, cyclone, hurricanes, etc., and then geological, earthquakes, volcanoes, landslides. Then environmental and biological, which include global warming, ozone depletion, climate changes, etc. As regards man-made or human-induced disasters, there are technology disasters like transport accidents, explosions, and structure failures, and industrial disasters like chemical spills, radiations, poisoning, and warfare in itself is a disaster. And then warfare, then there is a threat of nuclear, biological, and chemical warfare also. So disaster has 3 stages, and disaster management has different stages. 4 stages or sometimes 6. So this mitigation, which includes prevention, mitigation, and preparedness, these come before the disaster strikes, and the response stage is the during the disaster. When any disaster strikes, then the actions taken are the response, and finally when the disaster has gone, so the actions taken after that are recovery and rehabilitation. So as regard artificial intelligence, this is a buzzword today, and right from the tasks as important as sending the space missions to as trivial as booking a cab, everywhere AI is being used. And the present day computers can process and analyze large amount of data at a very fast speed, which can recognize patterns and make predictions also. So these capabilities of computers are being used by the scientists and programmers to develop the algorithms which are capable of replicating the human brain and supporting the decision support system. AI through this has different applications which can perform various tasks which a human brain can perform, but at a higher speed and with more accuracy, which include voice and face recognition, responding to the queries, creating 3D models, and response-based simulations, problem solving, database prediction, improving with its own experience. Then route recognition does suggest best course of action with the alternatives and augment decision support system, etc. So as we are seeing artificial intelligence in every walk of our life, so and this disaster management is also not aloof from it. So I will now in next few slides I will discuss how we can make use of artificial intelligence in different stages of disaster management. So actually, disaster management is a very complex thing. There are many agencies are working. Rescuers are there, medicos are there, logistics people, the essential service providers. And whenever we have to take a decision in any stage of the disaster, we need a lot of data, and we need a lot of data analysis to come to a logical conclusion. So artificial intelligence with all its capabilities and all its subfields like machine learning, natural language processing, computer vision, etc., can perform various tasks at the much higher speed than the human brain, which can be used in predictive analytics, early warning, and decision support systems. So now I will phase wise. First, we will speak about the pre-disaster stage when disaster actually has not been is not there. So whatever there are some, but we can take some steps so that we at the time of disaster we are not taken aback. So these steps include prevention, mitigation, and planning. Prevention, maybe if what we can do, we can prevent, if we can try to prevent the disaster from occurring. If at all we cannot stop the disaster from happening, then we can try to mitigate its effect, and then we can do the planning in the face of impending disaster. These type of steps can be structural as well as non-structural. Structural are the creation of infrastructure in such a way that this is disaster resilient, depending upon the requirement of that area. And non-structural measures can be the our preparation, the human resources, and most importantly, the preparation of the community which is going to be affected. They should be knowing that what they are up against and what they should know to prevent themselves and other people at the time of disaster. So what we need actually before a strike, when we are expecting some disaster, or in other cases also, before there are a few things that we need to know. One is to accurately know the scale, timing, and duration of the upcoming disaster. Then is the vulnerability of an area to a community. That disaster are only events, and their effect depends on the vulnerability of a community. Maybe if a disaster strikes an area where there is no population or very less population, so the effect will be very less. But the strike, if the disaster strikes a populated area, then its results will be more severe. So this is also an important parameter to assess the impacts of the disaster. So availability of the resources, and how many resources we have and how we need to relocate the resources. Then the most important among these is community awareness and capacity building of the community. Because in any disaster, community will be the first affected, and if they are aware of what they need to do, and if they are capable for that, doing that, they are trained for that, so they can save themselves and other people around them. So how AI can help us in this? First, the prediction. AI can help us in early prediction of the disasters. Now, first, as regards weather disasters like cyclones, there are many satellite systems and drone and other aerial systems, and through the aerial imagery, very accurate prediction of cyclones is today available through the IMD, the Indian Meteorological Department. That they give very accurate warning of the cyclone, that how a cyclone is developing, how is moving, if it is changing its direction, and finally the place of its landfall, including the speed of the wind. And depending on these informations, then people are likewise evacuated from then, and other measures taken. So around 20 years back, maybe thousands of people used to die at the time of cyclones. But now almost nobody is dying at the time of cyclone. As regards flood, though we have, there are two-dimensional models are available, which can, through the satellite imagery, through which we can see that depending on a particular amount of rainfall in a particular area during a particular duration, how much inundation will be there after some time, maybe after 6 hours, 12 hours in a particular area. But for my job as a disaster responder, only the spread of water is not necessary. I need a three-dimensional model, because if at a particular place there is 1 feet of water, then my vehicles can ply, but my boat cannot. But if there is a 6 feet water, then my boats can ply, but my vehicles cannot. So only the aerial picture, only a two-dimensional spread of the water is not enough for me to decide my operations. For that, I need three-dimensional the inundation or the model which can show the inundation also. I have spoken at various forums with the scientists of ISRO and Northeast State Application Center. That they say that okay, yes, these things are available, but now not. But in the future, with more number of gadgets and more number of sensors placed at strategical positions, and integrating this satellite image with those the data from those sensors and the geological data, we can create such models in future so that we can accurately predict that if, for example, a particular amount of rainfall occurs in a particular area during a particular time. So, how much will be the inundation in an area downstream after 6 hours, 12 hours, or whatever? So, artificial intelligence can be of immense use in creating such type of models. So then earthquake still remains highly unpredictable because of complex nature. We hardly have any time. There are some people claim that earthquake have been detected around 45 seconds prior of their occurring. So 45 seconds is no time to save ourselves. But in future, maybe artificial intelligence, which can analyze the complex seismic activities and then integrate it with the landscapes and historical data of the earthquake taken place earlier. So these all data can be combined to predict the earthquake before their occurrence, so that we can take the safety measure accordingly. So another application of artificial intelligence can be to assess the vulnerability of an area or community. So then microgeneration of the cities comes into being. If we can collect the data from various sources, from satellite imagery, from geological data, rock structure, etc., and those all data can be integrated together, and artificial intelligence can draw decisions on them. So microgenerations of the cities, including various layers, can be created, which can help in town planning and location of critical infrastructure. This location of critical infrastructure is very necessary, because whenever we are planning any town or in any existing town, we are planning for some critical infrastructure like hospitals and railways and other things. So they should be so located that they are at least not damaged at the time of disaster. For example, if some earthquake occurs and the hospitals get damaged in the first place, then where the people will go? So this is very important for creation of critical infrastructure. Then structural designing capable of sustaining the disaster. The AI can be helpful in this. And then vulnerability to diseases and epidemics, depending on the climatic conditions, the quality of water, temperature, and vulnerability of a particular community to a disaster. These all things analyzed together can help in, because after occurrence of any disaster, there is a very high likely chances of any disease and epidemic spreading. So if we can assess them in advance, so we can plan for prevention against them. Then artificial intelligence can help us in resource management. There are a lot of human resources are there, structural and logistic resources are there. Then disaster funding, we need to know that from all this funding will come. Then outside support will also be coming at the time of disaster. So these all supports, these all resources are required to be integrated together. And then at the time of disaster, because disaster is dynamic, so they will have to be relocated to different places. So artificial intelligence can very effectively help us in managing such resources. Then community awareness and capacity building, I mentioned that very important. We need to map the vulnerable communities, that how they are. Then there are some communities within a community which are more vulnerable, like there are women, there are children, there are older, elderly people, there are specially able people. They have some special needs, so they have to be taken care of. So we need a mapping of those people, that if the disaster strikes, how we will be able to help them. Then we may have trained some people, so we need a mapping of such people. Then local volunteers and NGOs are there. We should have a record of all these people, not only a data of those people, that how many people are trained or how many there are. We need a lot of data, how many of them are available. Maybe I trained someone 2 years back, he has gone out. So a complete history of it has to be maintained, and it can very effectively run by artificial intelligence. Then for training, artificial intelligence can also help us in creating 3D models and training simulators, because there are a lot of situations that we will not be able to show the people. With the help of these 3D models, we can make the people understand that what actually they will go through and how they will help them, how they will save themselves. Then when a disaster strikes, then the important things for us, number one is the early detection and accurate detection. We as early as we know that disaster is coming, and as accurately we know, it will help us in planning. Then collection and dissemination of information, resource management, allocation and relocation of resource mobilization, and triage of vulnerable spots and victims, so that because it is really very difficult task to decide that which building should be given priority for rescue operations, and which victims should be given priority for treatment. And artificial intelligence can help us a lot in deciding about these trials, deciding about priority of the operations. Then identification of victims and missing personnel. AI can, through the its capability of face recognition, voice recognition, and then it can help us in through the previously available data. Victims can be relocated, missing person can be relocated. So how AI can help us in disaster stage is by providing situational awareness, by recognizing the patterns of geolocated social media posts. There will be social media posts, and owing to one particular kind of situation, there will be a trend in social media posts at a given time. So artificial intelligence can analyze those posts and accordingly create a situational awareness, so that the decision makers can know that actually what is happening on ground. Then impact assessment is there, because there will be pictures, satellite pictures which, before the disaster struck, and before the after the disaster, striking the disaster. So these these aerial photographs, these satellite images can be compared together to know the what impact of disaster. Enhancing common alert protocol, lot of information is available through lot of sources, through the satellites, through the mobile phones, through different type of radios, media, and these need to be analyzed, and these need to be disseminated to the people, to the stakeholders, to the community. So artificial intelligence can very effectively help us in enhancing the common alert protocol. Then augmenting the decision support system by analyzing the data patterns. So these whatever the data is coming to is, so a pattern is created. So if artificial intelligence can suggest us what does this data suggests and what action we need to take. Then predicting fastest route for resource mobilization, because we know a route, whatever our maybe our best choice route might be have got damaged, there would be some traffic congestion. So artificial intelligence, though it is doing today also, but in such times also artificial intelligence can be helped to for us to decide the what is the correct fastest route for us to send our resources to a disaster struck place. Then there will be several conditions when human intervention will not be possible or will be very risky. When we can so in those situations we can use the robotics, remotely operated vehicles, and unarmed aerial vehicles in the disaster response. Triaging is most important, very important. I mentioned earlier that it can enable us to decide that what people, what actions to given priority, and artificial intelligence can be very helpful in this. Then identification of victims through its capabilities of face recognition, etc., and this can the victims can be identified. So then is the post-disaster stage. Then when disaster has gone, so now once the disaster had just gone, that we need to provide the relief to the people, because they have lost their houses, they have lost their loved ones. So they need they need to be sent to some relief camps. Before that, we need damage assessment. This damage assessment can be done by the pre and post disaster satellite images, and this included with other type of data which is available through the social media or social surveys or the other ground reports. Then relief camp management is very Herculean task because a lot of people coming, everybody is distressed, everybody is in pain or agony. So providing early relief to these people is very of immense importance. Some people have lost their loved ones, some people have missed their loved ones. So if we can identify these people, if we can send them or relocate them among their loved ones, this will be great help to them. So artificial intelligence can be very useful in that. Then treatment of injured, any disaster will come with the injuries, any disaster will come with the sickness, any disaster will come with the mental health issues. So it is very important that these people are provided the specific medication at the earliest, so the artificial intelligence can help in all these things. That's business continuity management is very important because the business has to go. We have to there might be electric failure, there might be water system failures, there might be mobile tower gone. So these all railway networks, road networks, these all needs to be reopened so that relief can come and a normal life can continue. So this artificial intelligence can also help in this. Then compensation is important because there a lot of data will be required to provide compensation and insurance claims to the people. And integrating this all data at a short time, again, the artificial intelligence can come to our help in deciding such compensation. Then building of houses and other infrastructure. When finally this when we come to the house buildings, then we artificial intelligence can suggest us designs that how we can create buildings which are disaster resilient. So then post-disaster damage assessment can be done by analyzing pre and post aerial. I have discussed it. And then relief shelter management by facial and in recognition of people. Then chatbots can be there. People will need a lot of information. So AI empowered chatbots can be there. We can use generative artificial intelligence to provide information to the people, whatever they require, and help in preventing vector, water, and airborne diseases, because this will always be there after a disaster. Then artificial intelligence can also help in healthcare in many ways. Number one, it can help in rapid diagnosis and triages, as I have already mentioned. Then risk stratification is there, and some people will require immediate attention because of their medical condition. So whatever their medical records is, artificial intelligence can verify such type of record, and so that such people can be identified. Then predictive analysis, there might be some people who will need immediate attention. They will need higher attention to be sent to some higher centers of healthcare. So artificial intelligence can be helpful in this also. Then clinical decision support, this can help the clinicians in clinical decision support for early diagnosis of the illness and their treatment. Likewise, a lot of documentation is required at the time of your treatment, and if such type of information is available and which can be used through the artificial intelligence, for example, if artificial intelligence can use the previous data, if it is fed to its system, so it can save a lot of time at the time of disaster, when there are a lot of patients and a lot of very less medicals available. Then resource optimization, if we can analyze the flow of patients with a particular type of disease and a particular hospital in a particular area, we can then relocate the medicals, and we can relocate the other medical support in such area for the optimum utilization. And post-disaster also, when there is a rehabilitation phase, which is the final phase, when the life has come to a normal, and then people who are in the relief camps and now they are to be rehabilitated so that they can start their normal life. Then again, microgeneration of and the geological analysis of the area will have to be done, because if at all we had done the microgeneration earlier, the disaster would have left its impact. Then town planning, including location of critical infrastructure, I already discussed. Then designing disaster resilient buildings and infrastructure, retrofitting of the partially affected structures, social surveys for providing compensations, and planning for sustainable development. Because whenever development we are planning, maybe we are trying to create some dam, we are trying to erect some factory. So we should analyze that whether it will be sustainable or if it not have for reaching effect, which will affect our future badly. So these things are artificial intelligence can help us in all these things. So before I conclude, whatever I have learnt about artificial intelligence, and sometimes I've come to know that it is in a nascent stage, and its future in future it will be much advanced than what it is now. So there are chances of error today, and because of the complex nature of its algorithms, we will not even be able to know that where the error has taken place. So artificial intelligence can be used, should be used with the human intelligence for its optimum benefits. So this is all I had to say. Thank you so much for listening me so patiently.
Thank you, Mr. Kandari, for the detailed presentation. Dr. Nalanda and Dr. Abhijit, and looking at the time and schedule, and also to set the dialogue, can we collectively see if we can focus on a particular point, which for you, Dr. Nalanda, on the policy interventions and the IP modalities, if you could focus and share your views. And similarly, Abhijit, I will also request, because we have to manage well within the time limit. So can I request Dr. Nalanda to
Yes.
share a few words on this?
So should can I share the screen?
Yeah, please share, and you could share one particular slide and then connect it to what Mr. Khandari has said.
Okay.
That the
And screen share. The screen. Yes, the screen is visible. Is the screen visible? What a bit.
No, we cannot see you.
not
Yeah.
yet. Okay.
But I'm audible, right?
Yes, we can
We
now
can
see
see
your
it
screen.
now.
That's
We
okay.
can.
Because, yeah. Yeah, but the screen is visible, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So good evening, everyone. It's truly a pleasure today to be a part of this dialogue. I'll just take on from Mr. Kandari, and I'll just wrap up. I'll just mention few points that is required for with respect to policy making. Now, very importantly, I want to address this particular working paper that was released by the Economic Advisory Council to the Prime Minister on relative economic performance of the states, because the ideology today is to look at how artificial intelligence can be leveraged, and how IP, being a seminal tool that can gauge innovation and hence economic prosperity, can be applied. So analyzing the economic performance of the states becomes very crucial. So as you see here, this is the datum from the paper which I have picked up only for all the 8 states. We can see that all the 8 states, they are performing very less in terms of the contribution to national GDP and relative per capita income. And one important aspect to notice here is that unlike other states like Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu, which are contributing, they are barely contributing to a very bare minimum. In fact, if you see the statistics for Assam, it's almost plummeted and standing at 74% in terms of relative per capita income. So natural disasters, among other factors, the states are already having their own conundrums that they face. Natural disasters tend to amplify on these, challenges. So I will quickly run through. Mr. Kandari has very befittingly given. I'm going to look at the landscape of the artificial intelligence within the Indian ecosystem, particularly with respect to patents. Now, we have seen a drastic increase in patent filings, in patent grants, and also domestic filings in, AI has been increased. In fact, the domestic filing this year stands at 52%. Also, filings in artificial intelligence has increased. But if you look at the northeastern regions, again, they are barely contributing to, it's very less. It's just countable. So they are barely contributing to patent filings. Now, within AI, if you look at the statistics of generative AI, the statistics of patent families that are being filed under generative AI, we see that there's a steady increase, and India currently stands at 6.1% and occupies the 5th position globally. So we cannot discount the fact, although the race is being headed by China, we cannot discount the fact that India is very much in the race to adopting AI technologies. And within the AI, if you look at the landscape in detail, the focus in India is basically on generative adversarial networks, now which also finds application in disaster detection and climate prediction. But in reality, when we analyze the average number of business functions where actually AI is employed in India, it's usually text-based or image-based, which is usually applied to retail and consumer, telecom, financial services, and very less emphasis is there on technologies associated in climate and disaster management. This is also a small extract from my own research, and we see that around out of 4,000 plus applications, we could identify only 11 applications in India, that is barely 0.3% in climate and disaster management. So clearly, as Mr. Kandari said, the AI is predominantly applied to commercially lucrative areas such as e-commerce, customer service, chatbot, social media, and overshadowing critical humanitarian sectors like disaster management. So we need more AI models that can integrate meteorological, geological, hydrological data in AIs for real-time alerts in connectivity challenged areas, in communication crowd management. Also, I should mention this, that it is very difficult in case of global disaster management frameworks to have open standards and interoperable platforms. So this is something that we need to holistically work on. Also, we need advanced drone technology and autonomous sensory vehicles for mountainous terrain. As we know that Northeast states are all basically mountainous, we need such advanced technology. So there is a significant gap that's there in our research ecosystem, and which we need to pay attention to. So I'll just quickly go through the pitfalls and the policy reforms that is required. So one reason for such low patent propensity could be that the technology is in its nascent stage and it is not yet matured to patentable technologies. This is one theory, but another factor could be that there is a long lag between the innovation and achieving economies of scale. And because the cost is high, the R&D costs are high, and the returns are low, there is lack of incentives to actually innovate in this sector. Another rattling problem within the Indian research ecosystem is that India's R&D investment as a percentage of GDP is very less. It's just barely 0.6% as opposed to what we see in China and US. So definitely resources are often directed to more pressing priorities. Of course, all these priorities like hunger, disease control are all important. But nevertheless, the government needs to recognize that more spending is required even in the R&D sector. As we can note that PCT filings remain low, barely 1.4%, because most of the R&D does not cover the cost of IP protection. And even in my practice, I see when there is a platform technology and I direct my clients to sort of go in for PCT filings, they are so reluctant because, because of the budget constraints. So this is one befitting problem that we need to address. So we need private investment, for example, very less participation from the private sector. So we need more private investments and we need better business participation. And we also need to encourage large industries to exercise their corporate social responsibility to fund regionally focused research. Another important parameter that I want to mention here is the presence of dormant IPR cells. According to our national policy, the state governments have been encouraged to set up IPR cells in various academic institutions, but unfortunately, their functionality remains a challenge. And one real problem is because of the lack of funding to hire skilled IP professionals. Often these cells are managed by internally by university faculty who often may not possess specialized skills to exercise the objectives. So clearly we see a lack of sustainable action here, and hence lack of deeper integration of intellectual property into the academic research. This is something that should be closely noted. Also, underutilization of funds. Now, not having funds for research or development is one problem, and underutilization of funds is another problem. So we see that the Department of Science and Technology over the 6 years has spent an average of 18% less than their budget estimates. And so is for DSIR and DBT institutes. Also, there are certain funds that are allocated for, especially for the Northeastern region, for its development. And we see, if you look at the table closely, the actual expenditure is much less than the budget estimates to the states. So therefore, this clearly shows that due to underutilization of funds, it leads to sort of delays in project implementation, and also reduces the need for fresh allocation of funds. So this is another problem that needs critical thinking and close scrutiny. This is a silo culture is another really very important problem that we have in the Indian education system and research sort of ecosystem. We do have institutions, we do have regional strategic institutions, but there is limited collaboration and knowledge sharing between, say, the regional state universities or central universities and regional statistic development institutions. For example, if I have to say, we have the Northeastern Space Research Center here in the Northeast, which also does a lot of programs for disaster response. They do have a facility for drones and unarmed vehicles. But there is limited interaction between the regional universities and such strategic development universities. So which can otherwise, sort of incentivize regional scholars to take up, and boost innovations and take up innovations in this particular area. Also, awareness on intellectual property rights is also paramount importance here. We see barely of 254 patent applications filed from residents of Northeastern region. So we need to increase this awareness drive, launch new regional specific and field specific initiatives. We also need to revamp our IP ecosystem. We have been having process reforms right from 2017, in a very rampant way. India, we have cleaned up patent requirements, filing process, etc., due to which we have seen a drastic increase of applications being filed, including resident applications boosting. But India lags behind its global peers. And one reason is because of manpower shortage. So we need to have a closer look at this particular issue, due to which we have a large number of patent applications pending, especially at the level of the controller. The average disposable time is also higher than the global benchmark. And India also has a higher withdrawal rate of patents because of such pendency in disposal of applications. And also the working paper in 2022, which was released, noted that there is no fixed, timeline for filing oppositions. This is also one of the conundrums that is there in delaying, granting of patents. Also, submitting foreign patent applications like Form 3 is actually redundant, and I do agree with this because we do have WIPO centralized system which already provides this information. But what caught my attention was adoption of utility patents. And I really feel that in the arena, in the realm of AI, and especially in climate and disaster management, most of the innovations are quite incremental innovations. uh, which can be patented through having model, utility model patents in India. So this can help preventing defensive publication and also keeping information as trade secrets. And this is also very important because we have a number of startups and small enterprises who can venture out in disaster and climate technologies, and having utility patents can be very helpful. So in closing, I would say that we do have a very strategic AI, a guideline. We do have national policies and state level policies in disaster management, but they do lack integration of, artificial intelligence and other emerging technologies. We need policies that can incentivize local awareness and use of artificial intelligence responsibly, because it involves a lot of data handling. We need indigenous innovations rather than just technology transfer of innovations from outside. We need to have more indigenous innovations, greater collaboration between the academia, strategic institutions, and industries. And we need to embrace this strategic trinity where we have a very befitting effective R&D strategy with sufficient funding, backed with a very effective legal IP strategy to boost innovations in climate and disaster management. So in closing, I would say that the thing of Atmanirbhar Bharat that we keep echoing these days, that would be sort of incomplete if we are not, having inclusivity of every region and every sector. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nalanda. I would now quickly invite Dr. Abhijit to discuss on the challenges and the opportunities ahead. Dr. Abhijit.
Can you see my screen?
I can see your screen, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, is it visible now?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so hello everyone. I'm Abhijit. I'm currently serving as a principal scientist at IIT Jodhpur. And my topic is related to protection of AI technologies, challenges, possibilities, and opportunities. Because we have in very detail, we have discussed what is the scenario of climate and disaster management technologies. I would directly be heading towards how AI interacts with IP and what are the challenges and possibilities related to it. So AI, when it emerged and came as a mainstream product or mainstream trend into market, it disrupted many different industries, and intellectual property is not an exception. There have been many changes so far, and there will be so many other changes in coming years. So these are the three different ways in which artificial intelligence basically interacts with intellectual property: AI assisted inventions, AI implemented inventions, and AI generated inventions. I'm particularly focusing on inventions uh, for creations which are usually copyrightable, or other kinds of works which are covered by different other types of intellectual properties are there. But particularly we are talking about technologies in disaster management and climate, and that's why I'm just focusing on the patents aspect of the artificial intelligence and IP. So AI assisted inventions are basically where the AI is assisting uh, in the process of inventing some inventions. So where the AI serves as a tool to assist humans in invention process, enhancing efficiency and giving the assistive role. Basically, they are playing the assistive role in creating something. So the oldest use, I think, is in pharmaceutical industry, where the AI is used for drug discovery and checking the efficacy and the possibility of particular molecules for particular kinds of uses. But nowadays, it has been in use in many different industries, particularly if we just discuss about the creative industries like uh, day-to-day softwares which we are using on regular basis, like Canva and so many other softwares which are creating something creative, like it may be some kind of banners, posters, or graphics. They are also using AI on their backend. But AI assisted inventions, where there is a major contribution of human being, and then the AI is being used as something which is improving the efficiency, or somewhere it is adding the value which humans are unable to add at the scale which particularly AI is using. So AI aids in data analysis, problem solving, and pattern recognition. These are some of the very common uses of AI in AI assisted inventions. So these are particularly the inventions which are protectable in India, in other countries where AI has been used. But there are certain inventions, like AI implemented inventions, particularly uh, where the AI is a part of invention itself. Uh, in certain countries, let's say in US, the software systems are protectable, but in India, we do not provide protection to softwares as it is. We require some hardware element, uh, for which, like, the hardware element is the main element, and software is basically complementing, or maybe assisting that hardware element in some way or other to function. So AI implemented inventions are the inventions where AI technologies are integral part of the invention's functionality. So there may be so many examples, just like one of our client startups, they basically, if we just relate it with the disaster management technologies, he invented a device which is for the safety of the flyovers and bridges. So the sensors are connected on the like underside of the bridges, and based on a particular kind of patterns of vibrations which are analyzed using the AI technology, they are predicting whether there will be any accidents or not. So these are the things, or these are the inventions basically where AI system is there, and it is providing some kind of output, or it is an integral part of that invention. They are categorized as AI implemented inventions, and most of the inventions in India in the present scenario are related to AI, basically are AI implemented inventions. So AI, the focus is usually on how to improve the efficiency or functionality of that device. Let's say in maybe, like, we have one of the device here at IIT Jodhpur which is currently being incubated, and we recently filed a patent for it. It is basically a device for detecting of invasive fungal infection. So in that, they are using a AI model basically for detecting different kinds of fungi and the quantity of different fungi in the blood samples, and based on that, what can be the possible medications to cure it. So these are some of the examples where AI implemented inventions come into picture. And then there comes the third category, which is AI generated inventions, which the term itself suggests that they are the inventions generated by AI systems. So at present, these are the inventions which are not so common, because when we say AI generated inventions, we say AI generated inventions where AI has contributed 100%. And so far there are no systems. We require some kind of human intervention to create some kind of invention. The extent of human intervention may vary, and there are no clear guidelines about up to what extent of human intervention can be considered as sufficient for for categorizing that invention as AI generated invention. So AI generated inventions are not protectable with AI inventorship, but they can be protected because in several countries it is not necessary, or even if it is necessary, a human can be designated as inventor for AI generated inventions. So AI acts as an inventor. That is the main key line here. So there are several challenges, like particularly if we consider AI generated inventions, the human ingenuity is being disincentivized because of that. That is the approach of some parties, because the IP system and particularly patent system was devised so that the human generated efforts in the field of innovation and technology could have been incentivized, but it is somehow creating challenges for that. The issue of data ownership is also one of the prominent issues, because these AI systems, which basically are generating some kind of creative or innovative works, they are using data generated by some other agencies or maybe entities or persons. So in that case, the data ownership is also one of the hot topics being discussed globally. Lack of legal personhood, because once you create something and with the help of AI, and AI has contributed significantly, and if you want to give AI the inventorship, the term inventor was originally used in relation with the person and not the machine, and that's why the issue of the legal personhood comes into picture. And the next point, that authorship and inventorship are somewhere related to the legal personhood of AI. Some of the people, they are giving the reasoning that, like, there was a robot, you might have heard, Sophia, which was awarded the legal citizenship in some country. So some of the experts, they are giving the reasoning that AI can be awarded the legal personhood so that it can be attributed the authorship and ownership of an invention, but there has been no clear ideas or clear directions about what like how it should move ahead. Basically, ownership of AI generated works is another issue which I discussed already. Originality concerns, like if you create something using AI, can it be considered sufficiently original? Because let's say for copyrights, it is one of the basic and most fundamental conditions for getting the copyrights. There are also challenges related to patentability. There are list of challenges, but I have just used one thing which is most often discussed in this connection, and that is the notion of person skilled in the art. Like in India, we use this terminology that particular thing should, the particular invention should be new for the person skilled in the art. But when it is generated by AI, or when the person itself is the AI system, like, because this is an imaginary term, it's a notion, how this terminology or how these fundamental philosophies uh, will be basically interpreted in coming times, that is challenging. And of course, there are administrative challenges also, like an AI system, if it created thousands of inventions, if it can create in a day, and if the flow of patent applications grow sufficiently and significantly with, like, within few days, then how the patent offices and IP offices and other systems, they are going to handle the flow of such a huge number of applications. So those were some of the uh, very important points which are being discussed globally. We should understand that this is very new topic. So there has been very few directions, legal directions on this topic, and there will be many new developments in coming years. So I'll just conclude with the last point: what will be the future developments, and how basically the intersection of AI and IP will play a a an important role in coming times in the development of technology. So it is anticipated that there will be some of the amendments in existing IP laws, which will try to accommodate uh, the new developments and uh, uh, disruptions posed due to AI. There is possibility of emergence of some specialized IP protection systems like sui generis system. There were in certain countries there were systems for sui generis systems for protection of AI softwares, like computer softwares basically. So similar systems are expected because this is so broad area that a single system like patent or copyright, uh, it is very difficult to accommodate the scope of the works related to AI. Legal personhood may also be awarded, but this is also something which is drastically new and nobody probably would have expected. The layman's would never expect that something like this could ever happen. And there will be, of course, many other challenges related to that legal personhood also, uh, which will be appearing in coming time. Use of AI in IP systems is also becoming very prominent. Uh, Different patent offices and WIPO is also using AI for efficiently uh, efficiently processing their applications and enforcements. Open innovation and licensing models will also face substantial changes in coming time because uh, with the introduction of AI, the market is nowadays becoming the open market, and there is a likelihood that IP system may become irrelevant. That is the opinion of some of the experts. So, of course, it is very important to understand that the role oil has played in the 20th century, it is very the very famous quote states that the same role will be played by IP in 21st century. So I think we should wait and see and suggest some of the new things because this is the transformation period of intellectual property where we are trying to face the newly posed challenge of artificial intelligence, and probably we'll come up with some nice developments in coming years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abhijit. I think we have come to the end of the session and already overshoot the time by 3 minutes. So if there are any questions from anyone in the audience, we will take maximum of 1 or 2 questions if they are there. Are there any questions from anyone? Anyone would like to ask the panelist? I don't see any questions in the chat window also. So any quick view or last word from the panelist before we conclude? Mr. Kandari, for your last word on uh, any remarks you would like to share?
Not particularly. Actually, I like the presentation given by the other panelists, and I congratulate them for the nice presentations. And it was an excellent learning experience for me. And I express my gratitude for providing me this platform. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Nalanda, any?
Yes, I would like to just make a statement that it's very important to have such discussions ongoing. And because, when we are discussing pitfalls and reforms, when we are discussing challenges of one particular region, and we are discussing with the objective of having, spillover effects. And hopefully this discussion can have some spillover effect for other sectors and other regions as well.
That's very important. Yeah, you got a good linkage between the potential of AI, then the IP requirements and the policy side of it. Where are the gaps, and also the challenges as we go forward? I think that linkage and dialogue, and focusing on those priority areas. That's very important. which can benefit that particular region and it can benefit the society. I think that's the whole purpose of technology and intellectual property, and that's the initiative which we are also trying to drive. Abhijit, any quick remarks from you before we wind up?
I think, like, I'm just adding to what Doctor said. These types of events are like the need of time, I think, and particularly when I'm working in the segment where AI is being extensively used, I think we require a brainstorming. We require a new kind of approach which can be implemented in India when it comes to AI. We cannot copy somebody's approach. It is some of the points which are relevant can be copied, but I think such kinds of discussions will bring some new perspectives, and finally it will shape the upcoming policies in the AI and IP domain. So uh, I'm very humbled and pleased to present in the event today, and it was wonderful. Thank
Yeah,
you for.
one question which has come on the chat on cyclone prediction, especially now that we are grappling with Fengal. Why is it that the prediction looks poor? I think that's the question. Any views on that? I'm sure we have advanced enough to predict cyclone with respect to the current cyclone which the country is facing. Any views from the panelist how the prediction is so far? There's a very specific question on the chat.
I think I can answer this question.
Yeah.
Because I have been observing these type of predictions since the time I am in NDRF. It is not poor actually. It is very good. Because as mentioned in my presentation that 20 years back, there were thousands of people used to die at the time of cyclones because there was not accurate predictions, and it was very difficult for the authorities to decide whether the people need to be evacuated or otherwise, and if at all they need to be evacuated from, they need to be evacuated. So there was a lot of confusion. In that confusion, people were not evacuated in time, and they used to die. But nowadays, generally nobody dies in cyclones. So it will not be correct to say that cyclone prediction is poor. It's I think very good.
I echo with you, sir. I think that's gone are the days when we never even knew cyclone is to hit, and then we used to know. Now the newses are well in advance. Yes, I completely agree. So with that words, we will conclude this session, and we thank you all for being here. I especially thank the panelists, Mr. Kandari, Dr. Nalanda, and Dr. Abhijit for joining, taking their time out, and our co-organizers along with GLIPA and IPA, the collaborators BioNest and the Northeast Hill University. Thanks for supporting us. And most importantly, the organizers behind the scene. It has been Excel Scout, led by Jatin, whom you heard in the earlier. He introduced the GLIPA IPA initiative and his team members. Thank you, Jatin and team, for supporting this event. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thanks and have a nice day ahead. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.